I'm Greg Jackson. I build guitars and I really do enjoy it. Over the last 19 years, I've built over 230 guitars, resinophonic guitars, slide guitars, banjos, mandolins, and violins. I prefer to think of them as fiddles though. I started playing baritone ukulele and tenor banjo about 3 because our family had family pickings. The largest family group we've done was a bluegrass and gospel festival where we had 36 musicians on stage, all with a last name. All of us learned to sing from that same old man. It was like one big voice. My granddad played, my grandmother played banjo. In fact, I still have her banjo and I still play it some. I've got 9 uncles and 2 aunts that play. The grandparents on the other side played. We live way north of Amarillo, about 60 miles, where there are no repair people. So if you're going to play for Friday night and your instrument's messed up, you better learn how to fix it. Through years of working on family instruments and my instruments and friends' instruments, I'd had enough of them apart. I figured out how they went together. I like the fact that I can take a piece of wood that used to sing in the forest and then the axe killed its voice, but I can take it and do it right and it sings again. Rosewood is beautiful. It has marvelous resonance. That's why they made vibraphones and xylophones out of rosewood bars until we almost have extincted the tree. Brazilian rosewood is on the endangered species list. There is no more to be had. Brazil will not allow it to be exported. We're using Indian rosewood and Central American rosewoods and Asian rosewoods now. The Brazilian rosewood and some of the better grades of other rosewood ring like a bell. They gain resonance with age, which is something a lot of woods don't do. By having good wood, you can tune the wood, you can thin it, you can make it much lighter, which is where the graphite I use comes in. I laminate high modulus, high strength, parallel graphite, the same stuff they're using in space shuttle wings and in F-16 parts, which gives me dependable stability and strength. That way I'm able to lighten the top and the bracing in the top fully 20 to 25%. It's like putting a Cadillac engine in a Carmen Ghia body then. Other than the wood, the craftsmanship, it must be to the nth of an inch. On action, on a string, 164th of an inch makes a great difference on if it buzzes, if it plays cleanly, if you've got this big round sound, or if it's thin and whiny. But if you have plenty of sound, you don't ever have to hit it hard to get a big, nice sound. It's like driving a car that you still have another gear and a lot of pedal left on the floor. You never have to worry about it. When someone comes in, wants a good guitar build, one of the first things I do, after checking their credit of course, is to find out how big the hand is, measure the hand 5 or 6 different ways, measure the distance from the wrist to the elbow to the armpit. It needs to be fitted to the person, and then you find out what he's going to play on it. If someone's going to be playing bluegrass where their main object is to make the guitar heard over an upright bass, a couple of banjos, 2 or 3 fiddles, and a mandolin, and 17 people singing, he needs the guitar to do something different than an ex-rock and roll lead guitar player does when he's trying to play a treble passage. You have to design the instrument to fit the person's needs, not only to fit the person's body who's by it. But if you're playing for the sound and getting the sound right, and you're going to play a 5-set night, or if you're going to sit down in the studio and play until you get it right, the instrument should not be the limiting factor. One size fits all only applies to spandex. The instrument needs to fit the person who bought it. Style of guitar is determined by the use. The beauty is determined by the depth of the pocketbook. the inlay and the trick woods, the beautiful woods, are how much do you want to spend on this? I only build one grade of guitar, and that's as good as I can build it. The sound has to be there and the playability has to be there. And that's what I guarantee. I guarantee the instruments for the life of the original purchaser. Whichever one of us dies first voids the warranty. I don't guarantee it against moisture, against heat, or against stupidity. I can't control those three things. Luthier tools are hard to come by. They weren't made at all until a few years ago, and only in very limited numbers. Most luthiers have to make their own tools because it's the only way you're going to have them. I've made my own bender with heat and with spring steel, where I can sandwich a 100,000ths thick piece of wood, heat it to about 200 degrees, and then lubricate the cells with steam, and then clamp it into position. Let it dry and cool in that position, and it's bent there rather than bending it over a hot tube. I also build my own bench for adjusting actions, where I can freeze the body, freeze the neck with strings still on it, and then take the strings off so that I've frozen the guitar in a playing position, a tensioned position. Then you can work the frets exactly as they're going to be. You don't have to guess how much back the neck is going to go when you take the strings off of it. A normal guitar being built will take about 3 to 3.5 months. Some of the glues need to cure, some of the filler needs to dry completely. The moisture that you put into the wood for the sides has to be completely dried out so you don't trap moisture in the wood. Later it would come out under the finish and bubble the finish, and it takes in actuality about 60 to 70 hours, but that has to be spread out over 3 to 3.5 months. The instruments that I've built, it's a delight to go hear someone play them well. It's like going to your kid's graduation or going to see your kid play against Michael Jordan and having him do well while he's there. It's a large charge. It's good to see him go to a good home. I had two partners when I got this started. Robert Ketron contributed a lot of woodworking tools and knowledge on wood. Stephen Truitt, my other partner, was a faculty technician for UTA in their electrical engineering department. Has a degree in physics and a degree in electrical engineering. The only qualified wizard genius I've ever known in my life. Through about a 3-year period, we worked on design and testing, and we were able to approach it from a scientific end by voice printing the instruments. We would use his large mainframe computer up at UTA to mic the instruments and voice print them. And we'd take them back to the shop, take the back off and alter bracing and alter thicknesses, put them back together and take them back up, voice print them again, and see what changed. By trial and error and changing design parameters, you're able to learn which areas do affect sound and how it affects them. Stephen had leukemia and went from working on space shuttle shots at NASA and playing banjo in Beijing in a thrash metal bluegrass band to being terminally ill. But he never lost his sense of humor, and he never lost the heart. He said that he was going to be cremated, and that if I could, would I put a small part of his ashes somewhere way down deep in a glue pocket. I like the neck joint. It requires a little bit of grit to seat the neck properly. I put just a little pinch of Stephen down in there before the glue goes in. And that way Stephen will get to go to jam sessions for the next 100 years of all sorts of music. I think there's worse places to be for the next 100 years than 1,000 jam sessions.